Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into one of the most exciting topics for coin collectors and treasure hunters: the most valuable coins ever made. First up, the 1966 Jefferson nickel without a mint mark is a fascinating piece of mid-20th century U.S. coinage, representing a time of transition and innovation in American minting history. Struck at the Philadelphia Mint, this coin came from an era when the U.S. Mint was experimenting with coin production methods and temporarily removed mint marks to discourage collectors from hoarding new coins during the mid-1960s. Your coin, described as being in fine condition with some scratches, is a genuine example of this unique period and carries both historical and collectible interest. On the obverse, the 1966 Jefferson Nickel features a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and principal author of the Declaration of Independence. Designed by Felix Schlag, this portrait has appeared on the nickel since 1938 and remains one of the most familiar designs in American coinage. In fine condition, the major features of Jefferson's face are still clear, though there is noticeable wear across the cheek, jawline, and hair. The inscriptions, "In God We Trust," appear along the left rim. Liberty is placed to the right, followed by the date, 1966. The surface of your coin may show light scratches and dull areas, typical signs of age and circulation, yet the overall image remains strong and recognizable. The reverse side showcases Monticello, Jefferson's famous Virginia estate. The building's neoclassical design, with its dome and columned front, remains the centerpiece of the reverse. The word Monticello appears directly below the building, with the denomination 5 cents and United States of America beneath it. The Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many one, is inscribed above the structure. In fine condition, some of the architectural details, like the steps and dome lines, may appear smooth or faint, but the major elements of the design remain visible. Small scratches and worn areas are common for circulated coins, especially for nickels that have been in use for nearly 6 decades. The 1966 Jefferson nickel was part of a unique period in U.S. mint history, known as the coinage simplification era. From 1965 to 1967, the Mint removed mint marks from all U.S. coins to discourage people from hoarding coins by date and mint location. This means that all 1966 nickels, regardless of where they were produced, appear without a mint mark. However, most of these were actually struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. The total mintage for 1966 nickels was an impressive 156,208,283 coins, making it a common issue in circulation. The composition of the 1966 Jefferson nickel is the traditional alloy of 75% copper and 25% nickel, a durable metal mixture that has allowed these coins to survive decades of wear. Unlike silver coins of earlier years, nickels from this period were made entirely from base metals, making them resilient but less shiny over time. Coins from this alloy often develop a light gray or silvery tone, sometimes with darker patches or faint discoloration due to oxidation, what you've described as scratches and a worn color shade. From a historical perspective, the 1966 nickel was minted during a time of significant change in U.S. currency. The mid-1960s saw the United States move away from silver coinage due to rising metal prices, leading to new designs and materials for dimes, quarters, and half dollars. While the nickel retained its composition, the temporary removal of mint marks during these years makes the 1966 issue stand out in American numismatic history. It circulated during an era marked by cultural shifts, space exploration, and economic growth, a coin that quietly passed through the hands of Americans during a transformative decade. In terms of grading, a coin in fine condition, abbreviated as F12, shows moderate wear across all high points but retains clear major design elements. The portrait and Monticello remain easily recognizable, though flatness and smoothing are visible on detailed areas. The rims are full, the lettering is readable, and while there may be surface marks or scratches, the coin still presents as an appealing circulated example. Next up, the 1918 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark is an early and historically significant piece from the first decades of the Lincoln cent series. Struck at the Philadelphia Mint, this coin belongs to a generation of U.S. coinage that has now surpassed a full century in age. The 1918 issue reflects a time when the United States was still deeply affected by the aftermath of World War I and the social changes that followed. Your coin, described as being in damaged condition with some scratches, has clearly endured many years of circulation, yet it still carries remarkable historical value as a tangible link to early 20th century America. The 1918 Lincoln wheat penny had a total mintage of over 288 million. Coins at the Philadelphia Mint, a large number for its time, reflecting America's expanding economy after the First World War. These pennies were struck in the traditional bronze alloy of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving them a warm reddish-brown color when new. Over a century later, most surviving examples show various shades of brown or dark chocolate color due to oxidation. While many 1918 cents remain available, finding examples in well-preserved condition can be difficult because most have been heavily circulated. Just like your coin, from a historical perspective, the 1918 Lincoln cent carries deep meaning. It was produced in the year World War I ended, when American soldiers were returning home, and the nation was entering a period of economic adjustment and social change. These pennies were used by everyday Americans for small purchases, from newspapers to streetcar fares, during an era when a single cent held much more purchasing power than it does today. Each surviving 1918 penny is a small but powerful reminder of that important period in American history. In grading terms, a damaged condition coin indicates that it has significant wear, possibly with dents, scratches, corrosion, or other surface impairments that go beyond normal circulation. The damage can result from environmental exposure, mishandling, or being buried or stored improperly. While this reduces the coin's aesthetic and market value, it does not erase its historical or sentimental worth. Collectors often include such pieces in filler sets, collections that aim to represent every date and mint mark, even if the coins are not in perfect condition. In today's market, the 1918 Lincoln wheat penny, without a mint mark in damaged condition with scratches generally, holds a modest value of around $0.5 to $0.15. Coins with heavy damage or corrosion may fall closer to the lower end of that range, while slightly cleaner examples with visible details may reach 0.29 2020 or 0.25. A coin in good or fine condition typically sells for 0.30 to 0.75, while higher-grade examples in very fine or extremely fine condition can be worth $1 to $2. Uncirculated specimens with full red color and sharp detail are far more valuable, often ranging from $25 to $75 or more, depending on grade and eye appeal. Although this particular coin's condition lowers its market price, its historical and educational value remains significant. As one of the earlier wheat pennies, it represents the enduring legacy of Abraham Lincoln and the craftsmanship of early 20th century U.S. coinage. The design itself, simple yet noble, has stood the test of time and continues to be admired for its symbolism of unity and progress. Each scratch and worn surface tells a story of more than 100 years of American history, passing through countless hands since the time of the Great War and the early industrial era. Next up, the 1965 Jefferson Nickel without a mint mark is an intriguing piece of American coinage from a transitional time in U.S. mint history. Struck at the Philadelphia Mint, this coin was part of an important period when the mint made significant changes to coin production methods to combat the national coin shortage of the mid-1960s. Your coin, described as having a black color shade in good condition with some scratches, is a genuine survivor of that era. An everyday coin that has seen decades of circulation yet still carries the enduring image of Thomas Jefferson and a glimpse into a historic chapter of U.S. numismatics. The year 1965 holds special importance in U.S. coinage history. During this period, the mint removed mint marks from all coins between 1965 and 1967 to discourage people from hoarding coins based on where they were struck. This was a direct response to a coin shortage caused by collectors saving new issues and silver coins disappearing from circulation due to rising metal prices. As a result, all 1965 Jefferson Nickels were struck without a mint mark, even though production took place at multiple U.S. mints. A total of 136,831,380 nickels were produced that year, making it a relatively common issue. In terms of composition, the 1965 nickel was made of 75% copper and 25% nickel, the same durable alloy used since 1946. This combination gives the coin its silver-gray metallic appearance, which can darken to a black or grayish tone over time as the surface reacts to moisture and air. The black color shade on your coin is a natural patina that develops after years of handling, storage, and exposure, adding to its character rather than taking away from its authenticity. From a historical standpoint, the 1965 Jefferson Nickel represents an era of change and modernization. It circulated during the early stages of America's space race, the height of the civil rights movement, and a time of major social transformation. Coins like yours passed through the hands of everyday Americans buying gas for under 30 cents a gallon, picking up groceries, or saving their spare change in jars. Each one of these coins carries silent stories of ordinary life during one of the most dynamic decades in American history. In grading terms, a coin in good condition, G4 on the numismatic scale, shows heavy wear, with most details visible but flat. The rims may be weak in places, though the inscriptions and main design elements are still readable. The scratches you mentioned are typical for this grade and don't significantly reduce its collectible interest. As such, marks are part of the natural aging process of circulated coins. As for its market value today, the 1965 Jefferson Nickel, without mint mark in good condition with some scratches, typically holds a value of about 0.05, which is equal to its face value. Because so many were produced and survived in circulation, these coins are quite common. In higher grades, such as fine, very fine, or extra fine, the value can range from 0.10 to 0.10. Uncirculated examples with strong luster can bring $0.50 to $1, while mint state coins certified by grading services in MS-65 or higher may reach $10 to $20, especially if they display sharp detail and clean surfaces. While your coin's monetary value is modest, its historical worth is more meaningful. The 1965 Jefferson Nickel tells the story of a changing America and the evolution of its currency system. The removal of mint marks during this era makes coins like yours a reflection of a specific moment when the U.S. Mint was adapting to meet modern challenges. Each nick and darkened patch is evidence of decades of use, a coin that served its purpose faithfully while holding a piece of the nation's past. Next up, the 1945 Abraham Lincoln Wheat Penny, without a mint mark, is a classic mid-20th century U.S. coin that continues to attract collectors for both its historical and nostalgic value. Struck at the Philadelphia Mint, this coin is part of the final years of World War II coin. Ju, produced at a time when the world was emerging from one of the most challenging periods in modern history. Your coin, described as being in fine condition with some scratches, carries the wear of many decades of circulation yet still preserves much of its original charm and historical character. Turning to the reverse, the wheat ears design, used on all Lincoln cents from 1909 through 1958, displays two stylized stalks of wheat curving inward along the left and right sides. These frame the central inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America. Above the design, the Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one, remains visible, though slightly faded with wear. In fine condition, much of the wheat detail is still present, though not sharply defined, and the coin's overall color may show natural toning or a deep brown patina. The scratches you mentioned are minor imperfections that typically come from years of handling and circulation, but they don't take away from the coin's authenticity or its collectible appeal. The 1945 Lincoln wheat penny had an impressively large mintage. Approximately 515,000 coins were struck at the Philadelphia Mint that year. It was the last full year of World War II, and the U.S. Mint continued to use the bronze alloy made up of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc after briefly switching to zinc-coated steel cents in 1943. By 1945, copper supplies had improved, allowing the return to the traditional alloy. These coins were produced in massive quantities to meet wartime economic demand, and as a result, many examples survive today in varying conditions. From a historical standpoint, the 1945 wheat penny represents an era of hope and transition. It was minted in the same year the war ended, when Allied forces celebrated victory in Europe and the Pacific. For Americans, this penny circulated during a time of rebuilding, optimism, and the beginning of post-war prosperity. It passed through the hands of citizens buying newspapers about the end of the war, children purchasing candy after rationing ended, and families saving coins to rebuild their lives. Each 1945 penny is, in a sense, a small piece of that remarkable time in American history. In coin grading terms, a fine condition coin shows moderate to heavy wear, with most major details visible but flat in places. The rims are full, the legends are readable, and Lincoln's image remains clear, though lacking sharpness. Small scratches, marks, or dull surfaces are common for coins of this grade. While not rare, such coins are desirable for new collectors who want authentic examples from the wartime years without spending much money. When it comes to today's market value, the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny, without a mint mark in fine condition with some scratches, generally sells for around 0.105 to 0.815 is slightly better condition, very fine to extremely fine. The value can range from 0.8 20 to 0.40 coins. With minimal wear, strong detail, and good color can bring $0.50 to $1. Higher grade examples in uncirculated or mint state condition can be worth anywhere from $2 to $10, while top-quality red specimens certified by professional grading services sometimes sell for $25 to $40 or more. Though not among the rarest dates, the 1945 wheat penny is prized for its historical connection and enduring design. Its sentimental and educational worth far exceeds its face value, as it stands as a living artifact from the close of World War II and the beginning of modern America. Each worn surface and scratch on your coin tells a unique story of survival through decades of circulation, making it more than just a piece of copper. It's a symbol of resilience, history, and the American spirit. Next up, the 1942 Jefferson Nickel with the large date and P mint mark is one of the most interesting and collectible nickels in U.S. history. This coin comes from the early years of World War II, a time when America was deeply involved in wartime production. Because nickel metal was essential for military use, the U.S. Mint changed the coin's composition to conserve that valuable material. Your coin, described as having a black color shade, in fine condition with some scratches, represents an authentic piece of wartime America, a coin that not only tells the story of everyday life during the 1940s, but also of how the mint adapted to meet the nation's needs during one of the most challenging periods in history. The 1942 P. Jefferson Nickel holds a special place in numismatic history because it was the first nickel to use a silver alloy, instead of the traditional copper-nickel mix. The composition for this issue was 56% copper, 35% silver, and 9% manganese, which allowed the mint to save critical nickel metal for wartime materials such as armor plating and weapons. These silver nickels, often called wartime nickels, were produced from late 1942 through 1945. Because of their silver content, they have a slightly different color and texture than normal nickels, often taking on a darker gray or blackish tone over time, especially when exposed to moisture, exactly as seen on your coin. In terms of mintage, the Philadelphia Mint produced about 57,873,000 of the 1942 P wartime nickels, making it a moderately common coin among the silver 5-cent issues. However, its historical importance and silver content make it popular with collectors today. From a historical perspective, your 1942 P. Jefferson Nickel circulated during a defining moment in American and world history. It was used by citizens who were supporting the war effort through rationing, buying war bonds, and enduring the hardships of wartime life. Every purchase made with a coin like yours, a newspaper, a loaf of bread, or a bus fare, was part of daily life in a country fully committed to victory. This coin is not only a small piece of silver, but also a small piece of that shared national story. In coin grading terms, a fine condition coin, F12 on the numismatic scale, shows moderate wear across all raised areas. But the key design elements remain sharp and readable. Jefferson's face and Monticello's structure are clear, though some high points are smooth. The edges are full, and the inscriptions are bold. The scratches you mentioned are minor for a circulated silver nickel, and do not significantly impact the coin's collectible appeal unless they are deep or heavy. As for its market value, the 1942 P. Jefferson Nickel in fine condition with some scratches and a darkened surface is worth around $1.25 to $1.75 in today's collector market, primarily due to its silver content. In very fine to extra fine condition, it may bring $200 to $3, and uncirculated examples with full luster can range from $6 to $10. Certified high-grade pieces in mint state, especially those with brilliant surfaces, can sell for $25 to $50 or more, depending on eye appeal and preservation. Next up, the 1946 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny, without a mint mark, is a fascinating post-World War II coin that carries both historical value and collector interest. This particular coin, minted at the Philadelphia Mint, came from a time when America was recovering from years of war and entering a new era of growth and optimism. Your coin, described as having a color shade with some damage and scratches, represents a genuine piece of mid-20th century American history. A coin that has circulated through many hands, each leaving behind a trace of its journey. The reverse side of the coin features the classic wheat ears design, which was used on Lincoln cents from 1909 to 1958. Two wheat stalks curve gracefully along both sides, framing the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America. At the top of the coin, the Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one still appears, though it may be faint due to wear. On damaged coins, the details of the wheat stalks are often barely visible, and the edges of the coin might show flattening or corrosion. Despite this, the design remains iconic, a reminder of America's agricultural roots and enduring values. The 1946 Lincoln wheat penny marked the first year that the U.S. Mint returned fully to the eye Pre-war bronze composition after using recycled ammunition shell casings for 1944 and 1945 issues. The 1946 penny was struck from an alloy consisting of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, which gave it a bright red color when new. However, over decades, most of these coins have developed brown or dark tones, particularly those exposed to moisture, air, or pocket wear. With over 991,655,000 coins minted at the Philadelphia facility, this issue is quite common in circulated condition, making it accessible for both beginner and experienced collectors. From a historical standpoint, the 1946 wheat penny tells the story of a country transitioning from wartime production to peace. Factories that once made weapons were shifting back to civilian goods, and Americans were adjusting to a new post-war lifestyle. A coin like this would have circulated through grocery stores, candy shops, and gas stations during the booming late 1940s, when life was becoming more stable and hopeful after years of uncertainty. Each mark and scratch on your penny can be seen as a trace of that era's everyday life, a quiet witness to millions of ordinary transactions that shaped post-war America. In coin grading terms, a damaged condition means that the coin has significant wear, discoloration, or surface marks that reduce its collectible value. The details are often faint, and the metal may be scratched, dented, or discolored. However, even heavily circulated or damaged wheat pennies hold sentimental and educational value, especially for collectors who enjoy coins for their history rather than rarity. As of today's market, the 1946 Lincoln wheat penny, without a mint mark in damaged condition with scratches, is generally worth around 0.28 to 0.545, slightly above face value. This small premium reflects the coin's age and collectible appeal, even in lower grades. In fine condition, examples may be worth 0.15 to 0.15, while very fine or extra fine coins can range from $0 to $0.40. Uncirculated specimens with full red color can sell for $2 to $5, and high-grade red examples certified by grading services like PCGS or NGC can fetch $10 to $25 depending on their shine and preservation. While your particular coin's monetary value may be modest, its true worth lies in its history and symbolism. The 1946 wheat penny represents the end of a global conflict and the beginning of a new chapter in American life. Every worn surface, every small scratch, and every shade of brown on your coin tells part of that larger story. A story of resilience, recovery, and everyday hope. Next up, the 1941 Jefferson Nickel without a mint mark is a classic pre-World War II coin that represents a time when the United States was on the edge of global conflict, but still focused on recovery and progress at home. Struck at the Philadelphia Mint, this coin carries no mint mark, a characteristic that helps collectors easily identify it as a Philadelphia issue. Your coin, described as being in good condition with some scratches, has visible signs of circulation, yet it still holds both collectible and historical appeal for coin enthusiasts today. Turning to the reverse, we see Jefferson's famous home, Monticello, centered prominently beneath the motto E pluribus unum. The detailed neoclassical architecture of the building, with its columns, dome, and steps, represents Jefferson's intellect and love for design. Beneath the structure appear the inscriptions Monticello, 5 cents, and United States of America. On your coin, some flattening of the building and steps is expected, and parts of the lettering might show light wear. The absence of a mint mark confirms that it was struck in Philadelphia, which produced the highest number of Jefferson Nickels that year. The 1941 Jefferson Nickel was made from the standard pre-war composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel, weighing 5 grams with a diameter of 21.2 millimeters. This was the last full year before the U.S. Mint began experimenting with silver and manganese in its 5-cent coins during World War II. In 1941, production was strong across all mints as the demand for coinage grew with the recovering economy. The Philadelphia Mint struck approximately 265,000 nickels, making this issue widely available but still desirable to collectors for its age and design. Historically, your 1941 Jefferson nickel holds special meaning. It circulated in an America that was emerging from the Great Depression and moving toward industrial expansion. Though the United States had not yet entered World War II, the economy was already shifting to support defense production. Millions of people carried nickels like yours in their pockets to buy bus tickets, newspapers, and everyday necessities. Each coin was a small but essential part of daily commerce in a country preparing for the massive changes that would come with the war. In numismatic grading terms, a good condition G4 Jefferson nickel shows heavy wear across the high points. Jefferson's hair and facial features are smooth, and Monticello's details on the reverse are mostly flattened. The inscriptions, though worn, remain readable. The scratches mentioned on your coin are common for a circulated piece of this age, and generally do not greatly reduce its collectible value unless they are deep or disfiguring. The color may range from light gray to darker tones depending on storage and circulation history. Because this coin is from before the silver wartime issues, it does not contain any silver, so its value is primarily based on collector interest rather than metal content. However, early Jefferson nickels, especially those preserved in decent shape, are still popular because they represent the beginning years of one of America's longest-running coin designs. In today's collector market, a 1941 Jefferson nickel without a mint mark in good condition typically sells for around $0.15 to $0.30, depending on eye appeal. In very fine condition, it may be worth $0.50 to $1, and uncirculated examples can reach $2 to $5. High grade, mint state coins with sharp details and luster may command even higher prices when professionally graded by services like PCGS or NGC. Although your coin shows wear and scratches, its true worth lies in its history. It's a surviving example from a pivotal year in U.S. history, a time when the nation was still recovering from hard economic times and standing at the threshold of war. Every mark and scratch tells part of its story, reflecting the hands it passed through over generations. The 1945 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny with D mint mark is a fascinating piece of American coinage, minted at the Denver Mint during the final year of World War II. Sotonotu. This coin belongs to the classic Lincoln Wheat Cent series designed by Victor David Brenner, which ran from 1909 to 1958. The 1945D issue is especially meaningful because it represents the last full wartime year and a time when the world was on the verge of peace. Your coin, described as being in dirty condition with some scratches, tells its own story, one of age, circulation, and connection to history. Though worn and discolored from decades of use, it remains a small yet valuable artifact of the mid-20th century. On the obverse side, the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln stands proudly in the center. Even through the dirt and scratches, Lincoln's profile remains visible, showing the dignified expression that Brenner designed to symbolize honesty and perseverance. The inscriptions, "In God We Trust," curve gracefully along the top edge. Liberty sits to the left of Lincoln's portrait, and the date 1945 appears to the right. Beneath the date is the small D mint mark, denoting that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. In dirty or well-circulated condition, much of the coin's original red-brown luster has faded, replaced by darker tones of brown or even grayish areas from oxidation and grime. However, the details are still readable, and the coin retains the charm of genuine use. Light surface scratches, mentioned in the description, are common signs of its long life in circulation and do not significantly impact its historical interest. The reverse of the coin continues with Brenner's elegant wheat ears design, which gives the series its well-known name. Two stylized stalks of wheat curve inward from the edges, surrounding the bold inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America. Above this, the Latin motto E pluribus unum means out of many, one. On a 1945 D in dirty condition, the details of the wheat lines may be faint or partially obscured by dirt and wear, but the lettering typically remains clear. The coin's surface often displays uneven color, perhaps dark brown in the recesses and lighter on the worn high points. The scratches and accumulated debris from circulation create a unique patina that adds authenticity to the piece. For many collectors, cleaning such a coin is discouraged, as the natural aged look is part of its historical identity. In terms of production, the 1945 D wheat penny had a substantial mintage of over 266 million coins, making it one of the more common dates of the series. Like all cents from this period, it was composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, restoring the traditional bronze alloy that had been briefly replaced in 1943 with zinc-coated steel. By 1945, the war effort still required large amounts of copper for ammunition and equipment. But the U.S. Mint managed to maintain standard coin production as the war neared its end. These pennies circulated widely across the country, passing through countless hands during a time of great national unity and relief as the conflict drew to a close. From a historical perspective, the 1945 D penny is more than just a coin. It is a relic from the year when World War II ended, a symbol of America's strength and endurance. As peace was restored and soldiers returned home, coins like this one were used in daily life, exchanged in shops, diners, and train stations during one of the most hopeful periods in modern history. Each surviving example carries silent stories of that era, connecting modern collectors to a time of transformation and optimism. In grading terms, a dirty condition coin typically falls between good and fine grades, depending on how much detail remains visible. Dirt and scratches can obscure the design, but as long as the main features are identifiable. Lincoln's portrait, the date, the mint mark, and the central text, the coin retains collectible interest. While it may not appeal to high-grade collectors, it remains valuable as part of a historical set, especially when accompanied by other wartime pennies from the early to mid-1940s. In today's coin market, the 1945 D Lincoln wheat penny, in dirty circulated condition with some scratches generally, has a retail value between $0.05 and $0.15. Examples that are only lightly dirty or still show decent detail can fetch closer to $0.20 to $0.30. Coins, in fine to very fine condition, might be worth $0.40 to $0.75, while extremely fine or uncirculated pieces can range from $1 to $5. Brilliant red uncirculated examples certified by professional grading services can sometimes bring prices over $10, especially for those with strong eye appeal and minimal marks. Although the coin's market value is modest, its historical and emotional worth is far greater. Next up, the 1970 Jefferson Nickel with an S mint mark is a fascinating mid-20th century coin struck at the San Francisco Mint, known for its high-quality proof and circulation coinage. This nickel belongs to the long-running Jefferson Nickels series that began in 1938, designed by sculptor Felix Schlag. Your coin, described as being in dirty condition with some scratches, shows clear signs of circulation and age, yet it still carries historical and collectible significance. The 1970 S. Jefferson Nickel was minted in two main forms, a circulation strike and a proof version. The proof coins, struck with polished dies and mirror-like surfaces, were intended for collectors and not released into general circulation. However, If your coin shows wear and scratches, it's most likely a circulation strike that made its way into everyday commerce. These coins were struck from the standard composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel, weighing 5 grams with a diameter of 21.2 millimeters. The San Francisco Mint produced about 238 million circulation strike nickels that year, making it a fairly common issue overall. Historically, 1970 was a year of transition in American coinage. The U.S. Mint was moving toward producing more coins at the Denver and Philadelphia facilities, while the San Francisco Mint increasingly focused on proof sets and special collector issues. As a result, the 1970 S-nickel marks one of the last few years San Francisco produced regular circulating coins before becoming a primarily proof coin facility. Your coin, with its dirty surface and minor scratches, has lost some of its original luster but retains full historical charm. Coins in this state often show signs of oxidation, which can create dark or uneven coloring, especially around the edges and devices. These marks and discolorations tell a story of circulation. Perhaps your coin passed through vending machines, shops, and pockets over decades before ending up in your collection. In the world of numismatics, condition plays a major role in determining value. A 1970 S Jefferson Nickel in dirty but good or fine condition typically holds a modest collector value because of its common mintage. Most circulated examples like yours are worth slightly more than face value, primarily for their collectible interest rather than metal content. The scratches you mention are normal for coins that have been handled for many years, and while they slightly reduce value, they don't erase the historical importance of the piece. In today's market, a 1970 S Jefferson Nickel in dirty, circulated condition with some scratches generally has a value of about $0.10 to $0.25. In fine to very fine condition, it might sell for $0.30 to $0.50, while uncirculated examples can bring $1 to $2. If it were a proof coin in pristine condition, it could be worth $1 to $3, depending on shine and quality. Coins certified by grading services in higher mint states can command even more, particularly those with deep cameo contrast or bright luster. While its market value may seem modest, the 1970 S Jefferson Nickel remains a meaningful collectible. It represents the craftsmanship of the San Francisco Mint and reflects a period of change in American coin production. Every scratch and bit of dirt on the surface is part of its story, evidence of a coin that has circulated through the hands of countless Americans for over 50 years. In summary, your 1970 S Jefferson Nickel, in dirty condition with some scratches, carries an estimated value of around 10 to 25 cents in today's collector market. Though not rare, it stands as a small but genuine piece of U.S. coinage history, a tribute to Thomas Jefferson's legacy and the enduring appeal of classic American design. Next up, the 1944 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny with the D Mint mark is one of the most recognized coins among collectors and history enthusiasts alike. Struck at the Denver Mint during the final years of World War II, this coin carries both numismatic and historical significance. Your coin, described as being in extra fine condition with some scratches, represents a beautiful example of mid-20th century American coinage, blending craftsmanship, history, and timeless design. The reverse of the coin features the classic wheat ears design, used on Lincoln cents from 1909 until 1958. Two stylized stalks of wheat curve upward on each side, framing the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America. Above the design appears the Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one. In extra fine condition, the details of the wheat ears remain crisp and well-defined, with only light wear visible on the high points. The fields, the flat areas of the coin, may show small scratches or contact marks, but the coin retains much of its original luster and beauty. Its warm reddish-brown or light copper tone gives it a classic aged look that many collectors find highly attractive. Historically, the 1944 wheat penny holds a special place in U.S. numismatics. It was minted shortly after the U.S. Mint discontinued the 1943 steel cents that were produced during the height of the war to conserve copper for military needs. By 1944, copper from recycled shell casings and ammunition was used to produce pennies once again. This gave the coins of that year a slightly different alloy composition: 95% copper and 5% zinc, omitting the tin found in earlier issues. The Denver Mint struck an impressive total of 430,578,000 pennies that year, making the 1944 one of the more common wartime issues. However, finding examples in extra fine or better condition with natural color and minimal damage is still quite desirable among collectors. From a historical standpoint, the 1944 wheat penny reflects a nation that was nearing the end of World War II. Americans were optimistic about victory and peace, and coins like yours circulated in a time of great hope and unity. They were used in daily transactions by people buying newspapers announcing major wartime events, or by children purchasing candy as wartime rationing eased. Every coin from that period serves as a small metallic witness to an extraordinary time in American history. In grading terms, a coin in extra fine condition, XF or EF, shows light wear on the highest points, but retains most of its design detail. The coin still exhibits a bit of luster in protected areas, and the devices, such as Lincoln's portrait and the wheat stalks, are clear and bold. Your mention of some scratches is quite normal for circulated coins and doesn't significantly affect its value unless they are deep or distracting. In today's coin market, the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny in extra fine condition typically carries a value between $0.25 and $0.50, depending on eye appeal and color. Coins with more red or red-brown tones, or those that have been well preserved without corrosion, can reach values up to $0.75 or $1. In uncirculated or mint state condition, 1944 cents can range from $2 to $10, while high-grade red examples graded MS-65 or higher by PCGS or NGC may sell for $20 to $40 or more. While your coin's monetary value is modest, its historical and collectible significance is far greater. The 1944 wheat penny represents the spirit of a nation at a turning point, when the world was emerging from war and looking toward peace and prosperity. Every small scratch or mark on your coin adds to its story, showing that it played an active role in everyday American life 8 decades ago. In today's market, a 1944 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny with the D mint mark in extra fine condition and some scratches is generally valued between 25 and 50 cents. Though not rare in circulation, it remains a meaningful and desirable collectible, admired for its wartime history, enduring design, and connection to one of the most significant eras in American history. Each time you hold it, you're holding a small piece of that history. A coin that has traveled through generations yet still shines with the legacy of Abraham Lincoln and the story of the American people.